Want me in the video? This is the reality of filming with a very clingy dog. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sierra and I am a state certified infant and early childhood educator, as well as a mom in her first pregnancy who is taking you along for the ride with me. Don't mind my clingy dog. He is attached at my hip and has been since we found out I was pregnant. But I'm officially 28 weeks pregnant, which means I am out of the second trimester. And so while it's all fresh in my memory, I thought I would just give you a rundown of everything that happened, how it was, kind of my experience, appointments, and all of that jazz. So if that interests you, go ahead and stay watching. So if you watch my first trimester recap, then you might know that I had a pretty rough one. I had all-day sickness, and I'm gonna call it that because morning sickness does not do it justice. But I was in and out of the hospital, not feeling it. But second trimester is where things started to turn around a little bit. The first couple weeks, I would say 14 through 18, I was still feeling pretty sick on and off. And I was hoping that would go away and felt very fortunate that it did go away because at about 18 and a half weeks pregnant, I actually got married. The nausea wasn't as bad. It started going from every single point of the day to lessening and being about maybe 2 or 3 times during the day that I'd get severe, maybe 1 to 2 times that I was throwing up for those first couple weeks. And I would say that a lot of that has to do with some of the changes I made. Number 1, I started integrating protein into my diet consistently. Number 2, I got rid of all of those starchy, wonderful carbohydrate packed things that everyone recommends to you to deal with morning sickness. That was just my experience. I learned a little bit about the science behind it and found that as my blood sugar tanked, which happens really quickly for pregnant women, that's when not only the nausea and vomiting would come up, but the mood swings would happen. If you watched that first video, you might also remember I was a little mood swingy in the first trimester. After 18 weeks, I started dealing with a little bit of back pain. It wasn't too bad, mainly localized right here in the back, right where that muscle wraps around. I can go ahead and make a video about some of the stretches that helped relieve that if you want, if that's something you're interested in, because those have been a lifesaver, especially ones that open up my hips and relieve a little bit of that tension. The other thing I noticed I was dealing with more and more during the second trimester, around 18 weeks onwards, was some engorgement of my breasts. That felt a little uncomfortable, a little bit of itchiness. I got my first stretch marks as well. I have stretch marks all across my thighs and butt on both sides. And that is something that obviously I will not be showing on camera, but it's something that took me a little bit to get used to. My skin's been stretching, having a little bit of a hard time stretching, of course. So I have been using this Dr. Palmer's lotion. It's been helping a lot. I also got this vitamin E oil spray that I believe is also from the same company. I've been spraying that on occasionally after my shower to my skin while it's still moist, and that has helped out quite a bit. During this time, I also noticed I was getting flare-ups of these rashes. I have them right over here, as well as the inside of my elbow. You can really see the inside of the elbow ones because this, my friends, is eczema. And mine is induced a lot by pregnancy, specifically by eating dairy. I've gotten a dairy allergy during pregnancy. I've never been lactose intolerant, not really allergic to much. However, during pregnancy, your body can turn allergic to certain things for the duration of your pregnancy. And if you're someone with sensitive skin or who's had eczema in the past like me, you can get flare-ups like this. Today it actually doesn't look too bad because I haven't had any dairy. I've been very careful. But one of the side effects of it is I have a loss of pigmentation around this point. So you'll see I have very tan arms and then this beautiful little lovely white patch that I'm keeping from my winter skin. I started noticing that my bump was getting a lot bigger around the 20-week point. I ended up gaining during this time period, I would say in the about 15-pound realm, which during a healthy pregnancy for a healthy BMI, they say you should gain anywhere from 25 to 35 pounds. but also in all reality, whatever your body needs to gain for you and baby, if you're exercising and eating healthy, is completely okay. The one thing I noticed with that, on top of the stretch marks, is that for me, the extra weight started making it a little difficult getting up the stairs and going on my walks. I have this beautiful trail by my house that I walk almost every day with my fiance. I guess not fiance, I don't know how he said that. With my husband. I always like walking it, but since 20 weeks, I've had a really hard time because the trail goes flat and then it goes down and goes up. So I end up walking one hill and then on the way back, I end up walking the other hill, which carrying this weight can cause a lot of that hip pain. Around 20 weeks, I also got my 20-week anatomy scan done. I had an amazing experience with that. I got to have my husband there as well, so we both got to see the baby, got to see it kind of moving and grooving on the inside, which is an amazing, beautiful experience. If you haven't had it yet, definitely be excited for that one. At the anatomy scan, we did not look at the gender. We're not finding out the gender of our baby, so we're very careful about that. However, we did find out that the baby's healthy, baby's growing really well. They were in the 40th percentile, and then near the end of my second trimester, they did move to the 35th percentile. So we don't have too big of a baby in here, just the right size for me and my body. And a lot of times that's kind of how it works out, is tinier people have tinier babies and vice versa. Other things to note about the second trimester, appetite definitely increased during this time period. Of course, it's recommended to add about 350 calories to your diet if you are healthy BMI. Of course, check with your doctor about this. But for me, that manifested in a lot of peanut butter. I don't know why this was a specific thing, but I ended up getting this giant jar of peanut butter at Walmart, and it was about 4 pounds. And within a week and a half, I had gone through an entire jar. The other one is fruit that I've been craving a lot of and has been adding to a lot of those calories. One of the things I think that's really fascinating about pregnancy is the way our brains innately know some of the nutrients that we need. And the reason that I say this is because every time I get one of those cravings, a lot of times I'll look into what vitamins and minerals are packed in that fruit or vegetable or whatever it is. And a lot of times that corresponds with what the baby's really needing at that developmental stage. You hear me talking about peanut butter, you get excited? As far as body changes and appetite changes, I think that's about it. In terms of other appointments I had just all my routine monthly checkups. Of course, now that I've entered into the third trimester, I'm going to every 2 weeks having a checkup. And then that, of course, will turn at the end into every week. I am a high-risk pregnancy, so I get monthly ultrasounds done just to go ahead and check on the growth and development of baby. So we were able to see baby a couple times this last trimester, not only at the 20-week anatomy scan, but from then we also had 2 extra ultrasounds that we got. I will say our 24-week was the cutest one. We got this cute picture right here, and I am obsessed with it. Other tests that were noted is I actually had my gestational diabetes test done in the second trimester. You can get it done in the second or the beginning of the third. I opted to get it done earlier just so that I have the knowledge and can move forward as prepared as I can be during my pregnancy. But I do not have gestational diabetes this pregnancy. I was very excited about that. The test itself was challenging, more challenging than I thought it would be. If you're interested about that, I actually made a vlog that day just talking about my experience. The other things I decided to get tested in the second trimester were my iron levels, just to make sure I wasn't anemic during this time period. Even if you're eating a lot of iron concentrated foods, because of that doubling blood volume, you can still get anemic because you have such a high amount of blood and a lower concentration of iron per that amount of blood. So definitely be getting that checked, especially if you're feeling any fatigue, anything like that. I had my first Braxton Hicks at the end, which was a really crazy feeling and even crazier to watch from the outside as my belly contracted and then let go. Not painful at all. I was very scared of having those, but it really just feels like your stomach is tightening and letting go. It doesn't feel bad at all. If you're scared of those two, I understand, but don't be. I was able to get a lot of my nesting done during this time period. We had 2 baby showers. We had one from his family back home in Iowa, and then one with my family here in Colorado. And we were able to get a lot of the things that we need, including the car seat, bouncer, crib, all of that kind of stuff set up, which has been amazing and such a blessing. We are a high-risk pregnancy over here, specifically in terms of having the potential for early labor. And so I got a lot of the prep work done just in case baby comes early, but I will be focusing a lot of my energy as I get into the 3rd trimester on doing just that as well. My favorite part of the 2nd trimester was feeling the baby kick. I know you can feel that anywhere from 18 to about 22, 23 weeks for your first pregnancy. And then earlier if it's your subsequent pregnancy, just because you know the feeling. For me though, I have an interior placenta. So my placenta is situated right in the front of my belly here, which makes it really hard to feel baby kicks. It doesn't really affect anything beyond that, but you can feel less movement and you can feel movement later on, which was definitely the case for me. I didn't feel significant baby kicks until about 23 weeks for sure. I thought I felt some flutters 18 weeks, and I probably did, to be honest, but I think that's why in subsequent pregnancies you can recognize that feeling later, because the first ones really just felt like little flutters, little gas bubbles, and as a pregnant woman I have enough gas bubbles as is, so it made it a little more confusing. But about 23, 24 weeks is when I started getting significant kicks where it felt like pressure very quickly. And now at end of 2nd trimester is when I started getting actual significant movement in terms of elbows, got a little bit of shoulder action there, to the point where I can actually see it on the outside of my belly. Bump wise, I noticed that as my bump grew during the 2nd trimester, it went from going straight out to actually having a little bit of bump on the sides. So if you have this, just so you know, it is nothing to be ashamed about. I talked to my doctor about it and she said that I have a short torso, which I've never noticed, but I certainly do notice now. And so there wasn't enough room for baby to just pop out here. I got a little popping out there, and that is about it. This is me at 28 weeks, so exiting the 2nd trimester. Moving forward, I'm so excited to be in the 3rd trimester. I found that the 2nd trimester for me was a period of a lot of discovery about myself, and in the emotional realm, kind of transitioning into viewing myself as a mother, into the view of what motherhood is going to be like for me, and a lot of that planning, and less of the horrendous physical symptoms that the 1st trimester had. Yeah. All right, well, that is it for my 2nd trimester update / overview. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I look at every single one of them and try to respond my best to everyone that I can, as well as you can use that space to encourage other moms, share your own experiences. We are going to focus on positive experiences on this channel, just because it's a wonderful way to lift each other up. I will be posting more videos very soon, so go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, and come back for more content, especially related to pregnancy. And of course, Frank.